Welcome into the KLSU Tailgate Show. I'm your host, Andre Champagne, and today I am joined by our own Michael Poggi and Tiger TV's Patricia Caputo. And for those who don't know, Patricia is one of our former sports directors here at KLSU. We started at KLSU together, and it's only right that we finish this thing off together. So we're super glad to have you on.
I'm so excited. When you asked it, I said, yeah, this is great. I love this. Let's run it back just one last time.
Exactly. So we're very happy to have Patricia here. But for our other viewers, it's also another special day for one of our staff here, Michael Poggi. It's his 21st birthday today.
Come on.
21 big ones, all right? 21.
Yeah, 21.
That's what we're talking about. And it's a beautiful day here in Tiger Stadium. Really.
Yeah, it's a little brisk. It's a little chilly. It's feeling good, man.
Is.
It's nice.
So let's get into the show. Why don't we? LSU coming off an ugly loss to Florida to start the week, where the offense has been at a standstill really since the second half of that Texas A&M game. LSU has been plagued with the turnover bug. And just chunk plays, giving up a lot of chunk plays on defense. So let's start with this LSU offense versus this Vanderbilt defense. Let's get into, like I said, this LSU offense put up only 16 points despite having the ball for 38 minutes last week. LSU also turned the ball over in their own territory, which really was kind of the nail in the coffin. Led to Florida capitalizing. But let's talk about Garrett Nussmeier. With him being just a completely different quarterback that he was, in the second half of the season compared to this, the first half of the season. What tendencies does he have to fall back to that allowed him to play so well in that first half of the season?
I mean, just being smart with the football. He over the last few games, he's been a little bit careless with the ball. Obviously, consistency is a factor, but recently he's just been careless. And I think, he needs to go back to those first few games of the season where he was a little bit smarter with the ball, making the smarter throws. Even if he wasn't completely on, he was still smarter with the football, and that's where I think he's been struggling the most.
Yeah, I agree. I think when he gets under pressure, he throws an interception. That's what he results to.
Right.
He has to play smart football, and I think part of that is because he can't use his leg as much. He relies on that arm so much, which is great, but he has to make sure that, like you were saying, he plays it safe. There's just times, throw it out of bounds.
Right.
Maybe don't take a sack every once in a while. Again, don't be so scared to throw the ball out of bounds at times, obviously bearing a penalty. But you got to make smart decisions for this team. But that also goes to the offensive line. They have to protect him this week.
I agree. And the short throws for Nussmeier, really. We talked about a little bit about it. He's just completely lost his confidence. And so really it's going to be him being able to build that confidence back up with the short throws.
Right.
And just I think mechanically his footwork has just been off since the first half of the season. And I think that just has to deal with the confidence too and just him being in his kind of mental right now. But in these last few weeks, you see him, going back to those bad habits of him throwing on his back foot. You don't want to see that happening. But do you see him shaking back in this one? And what's kind of the biggest keys for him to do so, especially against this Vanderbilt offense?
I'd love to see him shake back in this one. I don't know if he's going to.
Right.
But in order for him to do that, he's got, like I just said, he's got to play smart football. He's got to be consistent. And how you just said, those shorter passes. He's got to be good in between the numbers. He's got to stay in between those hash marks and make sure that he's, hitting those. We run a lot of checkdowns. We run a lot of smalls, like screen throws that haven't really worked as much. So hopefully he can, get it to his guys. Get Kyron Lacey more than one target, and we'll be moving.
I don't know if there's necessarily a shake-back game for Nuss, because if you look throughout the season, it wasn't like he was this outstanding quarterback that everyone said, that's going to be our guy, that's a Heisman contender, even though some fans said that. But realistically, it wasn't like that, where now it seems that this team, I think the defense too, with the injuries and maybe with the Weeks brothers not playing as much as we expected or as well as we expected, that we're finally seeing his true colors, so to speak, that we're seeing him go out there and make these crucial mistakes and it affects the game.
I just think with everything going on in the program right now, obviously with Underwood last night, everybody just talking about it on the internet, he sees all of it, right? He sees all of this, hate that he's getting. I think this is going to be the week for him. If it's got to be, honestly, for him to shake back. And so I think he's going to have a big game. And I think this game specifically, he's going to have to step up in the pocket more. The pocket presence has to be a lot better. I think 7 sacks, 7 sacks last week, but a lot of those, they were bad sacks that he could have got outside the pocket for. I also think in this one you're going to be able to see him anticipate the throws more, especially with Kyron Lacey specifically.
Yeah, and the other thing is like when you get that pressure on you and you've got guys coming at you at full speed and your O-line's not playing well, hold the ball with two hands.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be, that's what I'm saying, like careless with the football. He's been careless with the football, and those little tiny mistakes have just been hitting us in the foot
and
every single time. Yeah, exactly.
There's
yeah.
no need for that.
No need.
But LSU showed that they could run the ball last week as they relied on Caden Durham and Josh Williams more. 35 rushes last week, not counting the Nussmeier sacks, of course. Is that where LSU wants to be around as Brian Kelly, demands that more balanced offense?
Yeah, I thought the way they were running the ball was how you should run an offense, was, getting it to your guy on first down and having him get 7-8 yards, whatever it is. That's what you want with a run game. That's what LSU has been looking for all year. And if that was able to come, into tuition over the last few games, you might have a different record. But it hasn't, and you weren't able to do the other little things. So I just think that run game has to stay there.
Yeah, I feel like LSU has been looking for this dominant run game for the last 4 years, maybe 5, I want to say that. And every year you're saying, maybe this is going to be the guy, this is going to be the guy. I think Caden Durham is the guy. I understand that he's young, but I would like to see him play a little bit more. You saw that in first Florida. You didn't see that against Alabama. There was times where I said, is he hurt? Is something wrong? What happened? Because he's not in. Josh Williams, I think, is a great goal line guy. He's a great guy that can block. He can do both in that aspect, which Caden Durham's a little smaller, so I don't think he can block as well with a banged-up offensive line. But Caden Durham needs to play this week.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, 20 carries for Caden Durham, which is the most he's seen so far. I think honestly, 25 to 30 rushes. Now, LSU had the ball a lot last week, so I think they're not going to have the ball for as long this week. I think you want to stay around 25 to 30 rushes. I think that's the spot where you like. And I think LSU did exceptionally well last week with the run. So what do you think the running backs as a whole just need to build off of, what they did great last week?
I mean, I thought last week was Josh Williams' best game of the season. And I think for him specifically, I know you just talked about Caden Durham and how he needs to be, the guy. Our guy. And I'm 100% with you. He's your best running back. But if you're Josh Williams and you're coming off a game like that, it's really got to be, it's got to be you.
Right.
And you got to come off with that, you got to show everybody why you're number 18. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you got to come and
prove it.
Improve it.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, again, like you were saying, he is that veteran. He wears number 18 for a reason. I think that we haven't seen that this season, and it seemed to be a weird year where it was like, these guys are number 18, and Harold Perkins being number 7, sure, and then he gets hurt. Like there wasn't this dominant leader, and I think that's what's hurt this running back room and this offense in general for the season.
I just have physicality. Like they played with a physicality last week, where it was hard to tackle them, and they're going to have to do the same thing with the Vanderbilt team. That, quite honestly, they struggle with open field tackles.
Yep.
So I have that. But let's talk about those wide receivers. Obviously, we saw the Kyron Lacey meltdown last weekend on the sideline after, and deservingly so, because he's one of your best players with only a few targets. Does Lacey need the ball more, and how does LSU make sure that they make that happen?
Yeah, he needs the ball more.
Right.
But it's kind of hard to get somebody the ball when, 1, your quarterback's not playing well, and 2, when you're double covered, and 3, when your play calling is about as readable as, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like a first grader can tell you that we're running the ball up the middle, you know what I mean? So it's like it's kind of hard to judge off that. But for Kyron, it's just, keep doing your thing, trying your best to get open, and then when that ball comes to you, you got to make the catch.
Right.
You can't be dropping it even when the guy's coming to hit you. You got to make the catch. It's all about timing for these guys, and honestly, like when they're expecting for the moment to be there at all times, but it's not there, and then when the moment's there, they're not really crashing in on it. So I think for Kyron, it's really crashing in on the moment when it comes.
Okay.
I like that competitive nature. I kind of like that he freaked out last week.
Yeah, I do
you're
too.
about
Yep.
to lose 4 games.
Right.
It shows that there's still something in this team that says we are good enough to win football games. It's very easy at this point in the season to say, what's the point? What's the point of going out here? If you're in Kyrie Lason's position, He might go to the NFL draft next year. What's the point, right? Why risk injury? I like that he's freaking out a little bit because he knows how talented he is. And he knows that Ole Miss game's a perfect example. He told the coaches, Brian Kelly said, that Kyron said, give me the ball, and I'm going to make something happen. And that's what they did, and they won that game. And 100,000 fans were on the field right after that play. He knows what he's capable of, and he's shown that he can do it. So one way or another, despite all odds, despite every excuse, you have to get him the ball.
He said, give me the one-on-one.
Exactly.
And I love that y'all said he's competitive. And I think that's really the entire offense, if you look at it. You just have to allow them to play the game that they want to play. As a play caller, you have to evolve, and you have to be able to know what your players like and what your players want as an offense and what works for you. I think Joe Sloan's really struggled with that.
Right.
But tomorrow night, especially Nussmeier is going to have to give him a lot more chances. And I think that does fall on play calling to an extent. But Nussmeier also, the entire front half of the season, once he snapped the ball, he was looking right at Kyron Lacey. You have to do that from here on out. He's your best guy, and there's no hiding it. So I think you've got to be able to just make sure that he gets those chances. But play calling has been an issue for this LSU offense. Do you think that Joe Sloan is on the hot seat right now?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, especially with the news that happened yesterday with Bryce Underwood, yeah, he's on the hot seat. Like, you're like I just said, the play calling's been super readable. I've been
second and long runs, man.
Yeah, I've been complaining about second and long runs up the middle for about 4 weeks now. Yeah, and it's getting real old. And honestly, it's just, I think having that recruiting class was the thing that was really keeping this staff together.
It was a lifeline, right?
And now it's starting to fall apart. So, I think tomorrow is a big make-or-break game for a lot of guys on the field, and Joe Sloan is definitely one of them.
The truth is you're in the SEC, and if Brian Kelly wants to continue to keep his job, changes are going to have to be made somewhere. And that's likely going to be both with the players themselves
and
with the coaching staff. So something is going to happen if Brian Kelly remains here.
Yeah, I mean, like Michael said, after last night and really after the Florida week, the recruits just saw really just everything they needed to see as far as the LSU offense goes. They don't believe in him anymore. Watching Nussmeier struggle for so long now, his inability just to know situational football is really what surprises me. And I do get it's his first year calling plays, so it's a challenge for sure.
Yep.
But that's when you have to give a little leeway to Cortez Hankton, the wide receivers coach, because at some point you have to go out there and fight for your wide receivers who aren't getting the ball.
Right.
But Vanderbilt runs 4-2-5 and likes to send pressure, a bunch of different ways. What's the key for them to get to this offense and rattled like Florida did?
I mean, honestly, it's just taking advantage of the offensive line.
Right.
I mean, you gotta. Honestly, you're better than them. You are better than that offensive line. You need to be able to get to the quarterback, and it's the same thing that it was the last time that we played a running quarterback. You got to make sure that you get to the ball, but you also got to know that he can throw the ball too. Yep. So it's got to be multitude of things.
Miles Frazier is questionable. Garrett Dellinger is questionable. Those are going to be key guys. If they don't play, then I think it's going to be quite easy. Not because the offensive line isn't good. They're inexperienced. The thing with Dellinger and Frazier is that they're experienced linemen. They know how to protect the quarterback. And we saw that last week. That Garrett, while you could easily blame him and say, well, it was a horrible game by him, he didn't have any time to throw. He was under pressure every single play. They have to clean that up one way or another. They have to find a way, whether that's bringing in another tight end, whether it's allowing Josh Williams to come in and block because that's one of his specialties.
Right.
They have to do something to protect the quarterback as much as possible.
Yeah, I have the same thing. I think that just with all of, I think Frazier is coming back this week, and I think Dellinger is too. But the thing is, they haven't played in so long, they're going to be rusty. So it's going to be a case of, hey, Vanderbilt has to be creative in the ways that they send different guys just to surprise LSU. And that's going to be the reason to getting, Garrett Nussmeier really rattled early. But let's switch over to this Vanderbilt offense led by standout quarterback Diego Pavia, as they are a very unique offense this year where they run about 65% of the time, compared to 35 pass attack. Very physical team, as you saw, just week in and week out. LSU defense, though, did a decent job last week, bearing a few big plays they gave up. But starting off, how does LSU strategically go about covering this Vanderbilt offense that feeds off the run, but also quarterback run?
I mean, which player?
No, just
Oh.
how do they go about just covering,
How do
stopping
they
that
cover
defense?
stopping the defense? I mean, look, go to the next one. Sorry.
I'm going to be real, they don't. That's just the truth. This team hasn't done it in like 2 or 3 seasons. Unless somebody like Whit Weeks can step up and go out there and get Diego Pavia. But Diego Pavia leaves SEC quarterbacks with the most rushing yards with 718.
Right.
You're not just going to come in magically and stop that. Maybe the fans have an impact that can hype you up a little bit. But with all of the injuries this team has endured and what you've seen the last few weeks, there is no simple answer to go out there and to stop the run. Truthfully, they just need to come together and try their best.
Yeah, no, I mean that's totally correct. I mean you've had 4 chances, so far to stop, get yourself together, get your team together, and figure out a way to stop a running quarterback, and you haven't figured it out. And there's more to the running quarterback. There's also the running they're doing handoffs too. So you got to be able to. Like you said, it's just trying. Because honestly, you've done all the work in practice. You've done all that you can do to kind of mentally prepare for it. Now you just got to go out and do it.
And I'll note with South Alabama, I believe it was 278 yards that they rushed against LSU.
Yeah.
This has been an issue
all
season.
year.
When Harold Perkins was healthy.
Yeah.
Right? So, it's been a continuous issue, so I don't think that the team's going to fix it, and suddenly they'll be okay again. And I like what BK said versus South Alabama. He said, the guys we got are the guys we got. We're not benching anybody. There is no transfer portal. There's no one he can come in and bring in to help fix this issue.
Exactly. I just think LSU would benefit from playing a 4-3 defense, just like they did last week. Just because Vanderbilt runs it so much, I think you need to load the box. But a big part of that is going to be LSU can't drop 2 safeties back every play because then you become predictable, and the entire really medium part of the field becomes
Well, the thing
easy.
about Pavia, though, is he's not your average running quarterback. He's not the guy that you run an option and he takes it the other way. He makes broken plays and turns them into 30-yard runs. You know what I mean? It's like he will take a broken pass play and he will run around and he will get the yards. And that's when, if you're Weeks or if you're, Greg Penn, you have to go out there and get to the quarterback, spy him, and watch the ball. You know what I mean? You can't just go and house that one area because he's going to move.
Right. And so I guess that leads into my next question. Who do you think puts the spy on Pavia? Do you think it's one person, or do you think it'll be mixed?
I think you have to switch it up. I think it's got to be moved around, whether it's Whit Weeks, whether it's Major Burns, whether it's Greg Penn. I don't if it's Major and that star, it doesn't matter. You got to put somebody who can move around and look at the ball. I think Whit Weeks is probably your best option. Yep. Just have him hungry and go and get him, man. I'm tired of watching these quarterbacks run.
Right past
wrap
man.
Them up. Really simple football, wrap them up. I agree with the Whit Weeks. I think you might bring in Major Burns here and there just because he might be a little faster, a little smaller. But I think Whit Weeks is the guy that stepped up against Arkansas. Where has he been? We need him here. We need him in Tiger Stadium. Brandon Swinson's another guy just on that defensive line, not so much playing that star. But just because of what happened last week, that he wasn't playing or he sat out that first half and that first quarter, go out there and make a name for yourself in that first quarter. Say, Brian Kelly, I know I made a mistake last week, but now I'm here and now I'm ready to play.
Yeah, I think LSU should honestly give Vanderbilt a little taste of their own medicine.
Yeah.
What they do very well is sending the blitz in so many ways. I think LSU, like Michael said, needs to change it up a lot.
Yeah.
They need to send a bunch of different guys. Heck, even send some corners sometimes because you're going to be able to play pretty good coverage. And they did it with Ole Miss. Ashton Stamps was able to get to the quarterback.
Here's the best part about all of this. The best part about all of it, you've got nothing to lose. You have nothing to lose.
Right.
There is you don't got a championship to play for. You don't got playoffs to play for. Go out there and play your best brand of football. Try some new stuff. Go try and make this crowd happy for 3 hours.
Your job is necessarily on the line for some people.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Go out there and say, look, we can make changes. And sometimes they might work. We just need some time.
Play for each other is going to be a big deal. Vanderbilt, though, has shown that they can. They're a team that really runs outside very well, which LSU struggled to cover in the second half of Florida. What has to happen on the outside, strategically, defensively, for them to fix those issues?
Maybe Vanderbilt can teach them that running the ball outside works. I think specifically they just need to LSU LSU just needs to be all over the place.
Right.
And I think that being outside, being inside, wherever it is, if you attack that middle and force them to the outside, you have guys there, then it works.
Right.
But if you attack the outside, they're just going to run you up on the middle.
Exactly.
So you've got to kind of plan for it. But
you just have to get to the ball.
Exactly. It's all about looking for the ball, because if you go one thing, and like we just said, if you're too doing one thing all the time, if you're too consistent with one thing,
right.
they're gonna eat you alive. They're gonna switch things up and confuse you on defense.
Right.
But I think Baker's ready for it. I'm not gonna lie. I think Baker's
so.
ready.
Yeah, I think he's ready for it. I know a little bit about Zy Alexander, just the amazing season that he hasn't allowed a first down, hasn't allowed a touchdown, hasn't missed a tackle, hasn't even gotten a penalty this year. That's a guy who you want to obviously put Vanderbilt's best guy on, right? That one-on-one matchup,
right.
maybe that zone coverage a little. Kind of the guy that you can rely on. Yes, you have Ashton Stamps with Zy Alexander, even coming back from injury last year with that ACL. He seems to be the guy for this team. Let's rely on him, and let's hope that he can maybe motivate kind of that defensive line to, all right, get to the quarterback. If I'm doing my job back here, you do your job up there.
Yeah, and I think as far as running the ball just to the outside, I think LSU's going to have to shift the line. LSU did a lot of that, to begin the season off with, until they started getting those, disconcerting signal, flags. But when they did that, they were pretty successful to getting to the quarterback, because it would mess the offensive line up. I think finding a way to do that while shooting the gaps. Honestly, LSU has not been able to shoot a gap very well as far as the linebackers go.
Right.
Neither has the safeties. Better angles, better gap filling. That's the keys to getting to the backfield. But what is we talked about Diego Pavia already. What's the biggest key to stopping him? This is a broad question. I myself have, just wrapping up, making sure those 3-yard plays don't turn into 80-yard.
We've asked this about every running quarterback the last 3-4 weeks, and we've said about the same thing for all of them, and they haven't done it. And so I think it's, I really think the QB spy is important, but this is like I said earlier, this is a different type of mobile quarterback. He's going to be able to, on broken plays, he's going to be able to run around. So I think the biggest key of to beat Pavia is making him beat you with his arm and not his legs. Yeah. That's the biggest key.
The biggest advantage LSU had for the last 2 years was Jaden Daniels was such a great quarterback, and he was so mobile that you could practice that. That you would say, oh, here's Jaden Daniels here. Okay, we have a mobile quarterback coming in this weekend. Let's see what Jaden can do, and let's see how we can stop him.
Right.
You don't necessarily have that in Garrett because he utilizes his arm. Garrett's going to utilize his arm, so I agree with Poggi that you have to go out there and ensure that Diego Pavia uses his arm. Do the same thing that Garrett's going to do regardless.
Make him use his arm, man. Yeah, make him.
And I really just
pressure on him.
I just have, and I've seen a lot of tape on Diego Pavia. Once he makes you miss once, he's to the races. Like you can kiss it goodbye. Maybe next drive we'll get him. LSU's got to do a better job of bringing the guy down. They failed to do that with Milroe a bunch of times when the pocket collapsed. You got to be able to take the guy down. Now, on the defensive line, who's the guy that's going to have to be able to do that for you very well this weekend?
Yeah, I would say Swinson once again. Kind of like what I was saying before, that there was apparently some issues last week that Brian Kelly sat him out. I think that makes a statement. I actually like that that's happening, because Brian Kelly's saying it doesn't matter what our record is. It doesn't matter if we have to win this game. If you're not following guidelines like everybody else, you're not going to play. Right. And right now I think he's one of the best guys on the line because of all the injuries. Yeah, go out there and put pressure on him. That's what you have to do. And together this line has to do that because there is no star that can go out there and do it. And then again, kind of seeing Whit Weeks step up, right? Kind of fill in. He's not Harold Perkins, but taking that role that Harold Perkins would do, putting pressure on the quarterback. Yes.
She hit the nail on the head with that one. I ain't got nothing. That's what I got.
I got Savion Jones. I think Savion Jones' best ability is to stuff the run. And I think if he can set the tone quick for this LSU team, they're going to have a successful night of making Vanderbilt one-dimensional where they have to throw the ball. But let's talk about just the elephant in the room. With the past week, this LSU program really has taken a hit that not many teams can recover from. LSU loses the #1 recruit in the nation yesterday in Bryce Underwood after being offered over $10 million in an NIL deal. Just briefly mention where you think this puts the LSU program at and what direction they're headed in after something like this.
It's not good. It's not good. For me, it looks like we're going down, and I think you really now need to harp in on these other recruits that you got and just go all in on them, because you lost a big one, and something that could really affect your job and everything. So I think this is more painful for LSU fans than some of the games that have happened this year.
I mean, can you blame the kid for staying home and taking $10.5
$12 million?
More, even more than that.
Was it more than that? I mean, no. I think we'd all do it if we're being honest here, that he's going to go home and maybe be one of Michigan's best quarterbacks ever. So I think we have to take that into effect.
Yep.
But I think it does. Like you guys were saying, that was the lifeline.
Right.
And now it seems you have to pull back. You have to say, is it going to be Ricky Collins? Maybe Colin Hurley? Maybe another guy that you're going to have to get. There's options.
The main thing, though, was Joe Sloan and him had this connection, and now it's,
What does that say about that? Yeah, there are rumors like, is somebody leaving? What's happening? Also, is Garrett coming back? You don't know. There's options, but this is a huge loss to this team.
Right.
Yeah, I think just from the recruiting standpoint, it's going to be a domino effect.
Yeah.
And it only gets worse from here. It honestly feels like when Ed Orgeron was fired, it feels like it's just spiraling downwards from here. So it almost feels like LSU is going to be put back a few years. But before we give our score predictions, we're going to give some of the look at some of the matchups this week around the country.
Here we go.
Give our winners really, really quick. Running out of time here. First off, we got Ole Miss traveling to Gainesville to play Florida. Who we got?
We got to win out. Rebs.
I was going to say.
I'm going Rebs.
I wrote that down, too. Got to win out. That's what Jackson Jones said when they lost to LSU, and they've done just that. I think they're going to win.
Give me the Rebs.
Okay, well, it's a triple sweep. What you know what that means?
And Billy Napier gets another big-time win.
Congrats,
Florida will win this game.
Especially me. You know how bad I was.
No, we've been horrible.
We've had a curse here going for the last few weeks. Next up, though, we have Coach Prime and the Buffs traveling on the road to face Kansas Jayhawks, who are coming off a big win against BYU. Who you got in this one?
Man, I'd love to see that cornerback for Kansas, Kobe Bryant, lock up Hunter, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
He's one of the better ones.
He's one of the best. He's one of the best. I'm expecting a really, really close game. It's going to be one of those fun games to watch in the Big 12. You know what? Give me the Jayhawks.
Ooh,
Rock chalk.
I like that. I agreed with the close game. Travis Hunter this week said he's definitely going to go to the NFL draft along with likely Shador. And I think they're going to win. Look, I think that it's going to be close. I know Kansas is coming off all this, all that, but I think that Colorado is going to pull away with this one, and Prime gets a big-time win.
I've got Kansas in this one, too. I think they're coming off a really big win last week, which does a lot for their confidence. I'll go with the Jayhawks.
Come on.
Next up, we have, really quickly, number 18, Army, going to face the number 6, Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Who wins that one?
Give me the Irish.
You know, Army Barstool said that the odds are stacked against them in 1776 and that they're stacked against them tonight.
That's
tomorrow
awesome.
Night too. I love that. I was like, I'm going to pick Notre Dame. I'm going to go safe. And then I said, you know what? Forget it. I'm horrible at picking. I'm going all Army. Number 18. They'll be champions.
I love it. USA, baby.
Army in the upset. Hey, if Northern Illinois can do it, our troops can do it.
Yeah, come on.
I like the Army pick, but I'm still going to go with Notre Dame. I don't know. I think this will be a very close game, but my gut's telling me Notre Dame. Finally, though, biggest game of the year so far, in my eyes, we have the Ohio State Buckeyes hosting the number 5 Indiana Hoosiers as they look to keep that undefeated season going. Really going to be their first true test, it feels like. So who do y'all have in this one?
Look, as a part-time Penn State fan, I was very disappointed when Ohio State came away with that win against Penn State. As much as I'd like to see Ohio State take an L, I know the truth is that Ohio State's going to come away with another win.
Google me. I win football games. Hoosiers. Give it to me.
I love it. I got Ohio State, so maybe we'll see something happen here. But finally, give me your score predictions for tomorrow night as LSU will host Vanderbilt in Tiger Stadium here tomorrow night at 6:45 p.m.
It's gonna be another sweat for some Tiger fans. I hate to break it to you. It's gonna be close. I got 21-17 Tigers, but it's gonna be really, really close. It's come down to the wire. We're gonna be losing a while.
I think it might be a few more points just because I think that Vandy's going to score early. LSU is going to have to play some catch-up. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here with the fans. If they show up, that LSU will win 31-28.
31-20, okay. Now the curse is in play.
Go ahead.
31-20.
8.
31-28.
31-28. Okay, you got a 3-point game. LSU favored by 8 in this game. I think Vegas knows. I'm going to go LSU winning 37-31. I think it is a high-scoring game. Give me the Tigers, though. He doesn't think LSU is going to win now that we've all picked them. But big thank you to Patricia Caputo and Michael Poggi for joining me today. Also want to thank our wonderful LSU Athletics Communications team, including Michael Bonnet and Kent Lowe, for allowing us to bring you this show every home game in the stadium for all of you. You have a little surprise here. our advisor off camera here. We have some cupcakes here for our wonderful
Thank you.
reporter, Michael Poggi. Try to keep that one under wraps. But happy birthday, Michael.
Happy birthday.
And maybe we can schedule one of these to start the year,
Yeah,
huh?
maybe
we
BK,
can get one of these.
BK, if you hear us, a little zoom in here. A little cupcake week
little
one
cupcake.
next year.
Yeah, come on.
That's going to do it for us here today. My name is Andre Champagne, and this has been the KLSU Tailgate Show.